You're not trying to be like everybody else. You don't compare yourself to other people. And these people hate the fact that you're not trying to be like everybody else. You're not trying to be like them. There are some people who prefer you to be the kind of person who is desperate for their validation, for their acceptance. And when you're not that, you might find yourself becoming their enemy. Yes, it is possible for you to be a little bit too real for some people. When you are not trying to be like them, when you are not trying to fit the standard that they set, some people believe that they are the standard for other people's lives. And when you don't adapt to that, now they're going to look at you as if you're a problem. See, we live in a very carbon copy, copycat kind of culture where everybody is adopting whatever popular trend as their life, even if it doesn't identify with who they genuinely, authentically are as a person. You see on Instagram, everybody wants to be an Instagram baddie. People want to be a corporate baddie. You know, you have women who have the same hair, same body type, even adopting the same personality because that's what's trending. Suddenly, everybody is gravitating to matcha, to Pilates, you know, this soft girl aesthetic, which I am all for because I believe that I kind of sort of have that soft girl kind of life, minus the Pilates. But the point that I'm making is that everybody tends to adopt whatever is the trending thing to do. And if you're not that kind of person, you go against the grain. You don't care what's trending. You do you. You might find yourself being a little bit too real for some people. And this is not just a social media, you know, kind of fad. Even in real life, you have some people who look at you like you're weird if you don't desire to be like everybody else. If you're not the kind of woman who's constantly comparing yourself to other people because you understand that you are uniquely you and you love you, you embrace who you are as a woman, there will be some people who look at you like you weird or try to make you feel like you're weird simply because you're not doing what everybody else is doing. I'll give you a prime example of this from my own life. When I decided that I'm not going to work, especially when my children were younger, when I decided that, you know what, I don't want to put my kids in daycare, myself and my husband both understood and decided that it's better for me to be at home with the kids rather than dumping them in daycare and going out to work. That's what was important to both of us. So I didn't work for a time up until my son turned maybe about 8. My daughter was 6. That's when I started working, and that wasn't even full time. That was part time to just have something to do. I tell you this to say that when I made that decision, there were many people in my life who tried to make me feel like I was lazy. Somehow, okay, you know you should be working. They tried to give me this impression as if somehow I'm useless because I didn't want to go out and take on the work world. I didn't want to become a corporate baddie. I didn't want to be this career woman because I focused on my family. I'm using that as an example, but that is one of the major ways, especially when women see other women living a somewhat softer life, a somewhat more unbothered life. When you're not doing those things that put unnecessary stress, unnecessary tension, when you try to do things easier for yourself, especially as a woman, don't be surprised if you have other females, other women who get jealous and look at you like you're weird and try to make you feel guilty for choosing a more unbothered, softer life for yourself. Women have been programmed to believe that everything must be hard, and when you're a woman who does not embrace that kind of mentality, which is the opposite of what many women embrace today, you're going to make some enemies. They're going to try to guilt you and make you feel like you're lazy because you don't want to work at the sweat of your brow, because you understand that that's not really your nature as a woman. When you understand that you can make money in a more easier way while still having time freedom, you're going to have some women who are going to look at you as if, who do you think you are? How dare you try to be different from us? See, some women wrap their whole identity in what they can do, but you, normally women who are more authentic and embrace their authenticity, they're a little bit too real. They understand that their identity is not in what they do, but it is in who they are as a woman. And when you understand who you are as a woman, you will be less likely to follow what everybody else is doing, and you will work out your own life and do what's best for you. And for many women, especially those of us who are leaning into our more feminine, softer side, and those of us who are trying to really connect with our divine nature as women, as God created us to be, as I see it, we're not interested in being nonstop exhausted. We're not interested in doing things that make us look somehow comparable to the average woman. We're just not interested in those kind of things. And if you operate that way, you're going to make some enemies. You may attract some haters. Some women may grow a little jealous, and that's their problem. So these people will hate the fact that you're not trying to subscribe to the same exhausted, bothered, irritated, stressful way of being that they are, their standard for what they should be as women. When you don't adopt to that, you might make some enemies. Yes, living a more gentle life, living a more feminine, unbothered life, because as I've said before, being unbothered will definitely bother some people. Some people are very triggered, especially other women. They get very triggered by women who simply live their lives in a more quiet, peaceful, unbothered way. And when you're not trying to be like them, you're not trying to take on the world, you're not out there fighting every cause. And let me sit on this for a moment. You have some women who are very soldier-like. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a strong woman. I like to think of myself as a strong woman, but not in the sense that I'm running to everything that is hard, that I am charging in to fight battles that are not mine, that I actually like doing hard things. And you have some women, because they have adopted the mindset that as a woman, in order for you to prove your worth, you must allow people to run over top of you. You must be able to bear all things and do all things. You are more valuable depending on how much you allow people to mistreat you and how much disrespect you can tolerate. When you are not that kind of woman, don't be surprised if other women, once again, they're going to try to make you feel lazy. And that's really what it's about. When you are not constantly comparing yourself to other women, when you are not making other women your standard, you're not trying to fit in with them. They might mock your style. They might mock your personality. The fact that you're not doing the same kind of hobbies that they're doing, you will have some people who are going to try to make you feel like you're the oddball out. And one way for you to avoid this kind of mistreatment from people who want to make you feel like you're weird for simply being you is to be around people who embrace who you are authentically, or to just be by yourself for a time. You don't have to be into everything that everybody else is into. You don't have to like the same kind of hairstyles and wear the same kind of clothing. You don't like to have to, do the same kind of hobbies. You don't have to have the same kind of lifestyle. And I go back to lifestyle as in the work part, because in the day and age we're living in, more women are waking up to the idea of working online, starting a YouTube channel, making digital products, being more creative, using your creativity to make money. I have people, ever since I started my business and started doing YouTube full time, I have people who kind of look at me like, okay, I'll tell them what I'm doing, and it's as if, okay, well, that's cute. Because they don't get it. Because if you're not working at the sweat of your brow, if you're not exhausting yourself to be like everybody else, if you're not a woman who doesn't care what it looks like on the outside as long as you reap the benefit, people are not going to get it. That's where they're going to start offering you unsolicited advice on what you could be doing better for your life. Oh, I think you should be doing this. You would be good at this job. You should go to college here. You should do that. Everybody is not, pressed or eager to go into tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt in order to go to school to get a degree that they may never use. But women who are smarter, working smarter and not harder, You might bypass the whole college thing and maybe get a certificate. Or you go to YouTube University and learn what you need to learn so that you can elevate and take care of yourself the way you see fit. The point that I'm making is that when what you do doesn't fit the standard of what everybody else is doing, these people are going to try to guilt you and make you feel bad, and sometimes try to make your life hard simply because you're not trying to be like them. And quiet is kept, some people are not really happy with their lives. That whole cookie cutter, go to work, work a 9 to 5, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that as an example. That whole cookie cutter, make a 9 to 5, go to school, be around these people, kiss up to these people in order to get ahead. Grown women are starting to wake up to the fact that it can be easier. You don't have to go through all of that necessarily. And then many women, not just with work, but just in life, being unbothered requires you to do things in a more smarter, wiser way. And people who like to operate according to the status quo, according to what everybody else is doing, they don't understand the idea of being unbothered. They only understand doing what looks good to other people. It's that validation piece. And women who do not need validation from other people, we have no problem doing our thing even when people don't understand it. And that's another reason why people may not like you, or people may try to make you feel like you're weird or you're different, simply because they don't get it. When you're not trying to be like everybody else, when you're not constantly comparing yourself to other women, when you're perfectly fine embracing and, complimenting a woman on how she looks, but you don't necessarily look that way, nor do you desire to look that way. You don't want to have the same type of body. You're not doing the same kind of workouts because you don't need to do all that. That might be good for her, but that's not necessarily good for you. That's not necessarily what you want. You might see a woman or have a woman in your family, your best friend, may be a CEO of a amazing, successful company. You admire her for that, but that's not for you. And the issue and the jealousy and the envy and the whole tension in relationships, especially these friendships, come in when other women don't understand, why don't you want to be like me? And while women may not say that, you can tell it by how they act toward you. They will treat you as if you have no ambition, no motivation, you're somehow lazy, simply because you see her grinding in the paint and you clap for her, go girl, you got it, while you sip your tea, get on your computer, do your thing, and then go to the store and buy candles. Like, some women, they actually judge you because you live a more softer, or a more, how can I say, easygoing life. And for my spiritual people, I understand that there's really nothing that's going to be so easy in the world, and that we have challenges and all of that. I understand that. I myself am a woman of faith. I know what it says. But I do understand that whole aspiring to lead a quiet life. That part is possible. God says it. So when I speak about softer life and doing things in a more easy way, that's even another thing, that people try to use spirituality to gaslight themselves into believing that if everything isn't hard, it doesn't matter. Where have you read that? That's a little bit of a sidebar, but I just had to put that out there. As women, we have to stop letting people make us feel guilty for not being like everybody else and not wanting to be like everybody else. There are some women, because they're secretly jealous of you, they might disguise their wanting of you to do what they're doing as somehow genuine concern, genuine encouragement, but really, they just want you to be as stressed as they are. They just want you to experience what it is to be stressed, overworked, and exhausted. Some women might present an opportunity to you to be a CEO of a company, to do these long hours, but you're making good money. But if you understand the kind of woman you are, and that kind of lifestyle really isn't for you, that while you like the figure, the money that she gave you, you don't necessarily like the idea of being overworked, stressed, and exhausted all the time. You feel like you can do things in a different way. That's when those looks like, You have to get more motivated. You're being a little lazy. You got to get more motivated. Motivation means nothing if you're motivated to do the wrong thing. If you're motivated to do what other people want you to do and not what you want to do, it means nothing. And there are some women who will try to set you up to be in the same bad situation they're in simply because they envy the fact that you're not doing things the hard way. So be careful of people who get upset because you're not like them and you don't desire to be like them. You're a little bit too real. And then even when it comes to your personality and your interests, the other day, let me sip some of my water. The other day, I had someone actually, they asked me about what's a good bar I can go to, what's a good lounge I can go to, just, like a dive bar. And I told them, I said, honestly, I'm not the person to ask. I'm so sorry. I really don't know. This lady looked at me like, I said, I can Google some stuff. This lady looked at me like, she gave me that skunk eye, like she was disgusted, like she smelled something so gross, simply because I don't know where any dive bars are. I don't hang out in dive bars, nor am I aware of them. That's not something that's on my radar. I apologize. And now, while this was in a more work kind of environment, it's not my job to know where all these skeevy little dive bars are. It's just not something in my line of thinking. And I'm saying that to say, even when you don't fit in with what a lot of the women are doing today, a lot of that, what is that, hookah and all these different things. And I'm not judging, I'm not knocking, because I'm sure I have a lot of subscribers. I have over 26,000 subscribers. So I'm sure there's some of you who do your thing. It's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that if you don't know, you don't know. And you don't have an obligation to try to fit in where you don't, just because you want to make other people feel comfortable with you. As I've said before, your tribe will find you. So when you are not trying to be like other people, when you're not comparing yourself to other people, nor do you have a desire to be like other people, you will make enemies, you will attract haters, and people may become jealous of your unbothered nature and your desire to not fit in with other people. You have made yourself your standard. You understand that nobody is like you and nobody can be you, and you can't be anybody else. Women who live truly unbothered understand that comparing themselves to other women is a waste of time. You can never be like anybody else. You can use other women as inspiration if you want to use their style and make it your own. If you like how they speak or things they do, nothing wrong with that. But just the all-out copying of another woman and wanting to be this person, making that person your idol, that's something you don't do. And because of it, some people might feel some kind of way. Some women think very, very highly of themselves, and nothing wrong with being confident, but some women act like they are something that you should aspire to be. And when you don't see it that way, and you just, you admire them, but you do your thing, hey, you might attract some enemies, you might attract some haters, you might find yourself being in a season of loneliness or being by yourself. And actually, that's the time where you grow the most, when people just back off from you. And that gives you the opportunity as a woman to really be unbothered, to get focused, to make your money, and to level up mentally, spiritually, and any other way you choose fit. All right? Like and subscribe to the channel and get the books. How to Be a Feminine Woman, The Blueprint. Girl on Girl Wars, a book on jealousy amongst women, jealousy and envy amongst women, and how to detox from toxic people. All of these books are available on Amazon. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the content. Take care.